Welcome to the BXG Podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet.
You think it's just going to be barbecue sauce?
Because if you actually read those books, it's just gobbledygook.
I really think clothes should be mandatory.
Speaking of Star Wars,
Captain America.
trailer reaction video. So, I think that is probably the best place to get started is for Renfield. This is Nicholas Cage's return to like big box office Hollywood acting. We've chronicled the life and times of Nicholas Cage many a time, but he had a decade worth of indie films, some good, not good, couple great, and then kind of stormed back on the scene with some dark horse Oscar buzz for his role in Pig, and then broke back out in a major way with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent alongside Pedro Pascal, which is become, because of the scene where they're on LSD in the car, has become probably the most memed movie in recent memory.
Oh, yeah.
But Renfield stars Nicolas Cage as the Prince of Night, Dracula, Count Dracula, alongside his servant, his familiar, Renfield, who is played by Nicholas Hoult, and they are alongside Awkwafina and Ben Schwartz as the antagonist, Tedward Lobo. Tedward. And Awkwafina plays a police officer who is trying to put Tedward and his family away, kind of, in New Orleans, I think.
New Orleans, yep.
Yeah. So spoiler free, because there will be a spoiler section, and then there will be, but prior to that, there will be a spoiler free section.
Yeah. I would say spoiler free. Even though the movie was short, I was a little disappointed, in it. I was just it wasn't anything. And the way I mean this is it wasn't a comedy as much as I wanted it to be, or it wasn't like an action film or whatever as much as you wanted it to be. I knew it wouldn't be like horror just because of what it was, but it felt like it was maybe trying to do too much stuff at once. And then because it did that, it just never, for me, hit notes that I really wanted. And that could have been various things. I think one of it was just that I probably wanted more zany Nicolas Cage. And I felt like, and I love Nick Cage, of course. We love Nick Cage. But I felt like this could have kind of been anyone. It didn't feel like they utilized Nick Cage to his Nick Caginess in this movie. And to me, that was a bit of a disappointment on that end. I mean, I watched it today, right before we recorded. It certainly has its moments, but it just, to me, wasn't something that really gripped me. It just didn't grip me. So I think that's my no spoilers, nothing attached there. Just, I wish I could have had maybe a more unleashed Cage, and more of Cage just in general.
We ran a poll on Instagram. I would say there's no numbers. It's a sliding scale. I would say it scored about a 7.5.
Okay.
On that. And I had it higher. I thought it was very funny. I thought the excessive gore was hilarious. I thought that Nicolas Cage chewed on the scenes that he was given. I kind of disagree with you in that regard.
Okay.
I thought that I had a smile on my face, as I usually do anything Nicolas Cage related, from ear to ear throughout. I thought the makeup was really good for some of the scenes.
Oh yeah, I would agree with
I
that.
thought
Yeah.
that there were, I mean, it was a little tropey and a little cliche for some of the narrative. But overall, I really enjoyed the film, and I thought it was a nice like way to kind of ease him back into, big theatrical releases. I mean, not this was a
Oh
big theatrical release, but
yeah.
it was oh, who was behind this? Robert Kirkman was
Yeah.
one of the writers on this, who is the creator of The Walking Dead.
I mean, the thing I will say is it just, I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't not enjoy it. I know that sounds weird. It was just not, and maybe I just put too much up on it.
mm,
And that might be just my fault, where it was just like, I thought, you're right. He did chew on the scenes. And I think that's probably where I maybe was like, I wish he was just chewing on more scenes. What Nick Cage does in it is great. I almost feel like if Nick Cage is in a movie, I want it to be a Nick Cage movie, I think is where I'm at. And it was more of a Nicholas Hoult movie, which he's good in it, and his
right.
role is funny and everything.
Mm.
But I just, unless it's like Nick Cage is like the last name mentioned, like also featuring or guest appearance Nick Cage.
Sure.
I think that for me was just the biggest thing. Where it's just like, I thought I would probably have like, I would guess that Nick Cage is in like 20% of this entire movie.
Oh, I think he's in more than that. But I mean,
Maybe.
by
I mean, it
screen
just didn't
time,
feel like it. It just
but
didn't feel like it. But
it is
yeah.
also Renfield, not Dracula.
Right. It is called Renfield. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Let me see here. All right, spoilers for this film, Renfield. The spoilers are here.
The spoilers are here. I mean, I guess for the biggest thing here is like that Dracula is actually not the main villain. Like that's kind of a fun spoiler. It is more of like Tedward and like his mom that are like trying to like do all these bad things, and then they're able to eventually engage with Dracula to bring this forward. So it is this idea that Dracula is the villain, but he is engaged with other people. It's not just him doing his thing of like, I want to suck your blood. It's more than that. I also just enjoyed the idea of Renfield having to like eat bugs.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really funny. I thought all the little tropes were funny. I would 100% say that. The one thing Aquafina's character is okay, but like the dad thing was just kind of weird.
It felt forced and kind of shoehorned.
I felt like we just didn't need it. I feel like if you just take that part out where it's like, oh, we're like the sisters involved there. And it's like, we both lost the dads. Like you could just not had that and the movie doesn't change. So that was a little bit of like, but Aquafina was funny. I mean, Aquafina is just kind of Aquafina in every movie.
Right.
And either you like that idea of her, and I do. She's just like a little sarcastic, very loud, and that's what Aquafina is. So yeah, I mean, and then at the end, the way it just kind of resolves is fine. I just, because it's a short movie, which I approve of, it just is very abrupt at the end.
Yeah, sure.
And so, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to give my score or anything yet, but it was just, to me, it was a movie that took a little bit of time to build up, hit its peak very quickly, and then just ended, which is not bad. It just was a very quick movie, in both a positive and a negative, I guess, for me.
Damn dog. Get out of here, you mangy mutt. What yeah, I felt like I felt like the plot around the dynamic of Renfield and and Dracula was just like, I really like the self-help group thing, like the whole toxic
Yeah, that was really
relationship
good. Yeah.
where he's seeking this advice in this sort of like this group setting where they're talking about like how to get out of toxic relationships and this sort of thing. And the one character in this group keeps getting cut off, and she's like, can I not say anything? And I thought that was funny, and I almost like not seeing this. I feel like maybe how I rewrite this, if I'm rewriting this, is all the story progression takes place through that group. And then rather than there being this very sort of blah crime family, Jason Schwartz character who's this sort of nitwit, and his mom, and they're this organized crime syndicate in New Orleans, and the whole angle about Aquafina and her sister and everything, like chronicle the 100 years that Renfield's been working for Dracula, and
Right,
like how
yeah.
they get it themselves into and out of shit constantly. And then at the end, Dracula comes in and goes bananas, kind of like he does. But then there's like a way to get for him to kind of stop it from happening or whatever. I mean, they kind of really any of the way that they did it was the way that the final confrontation shook out. I just think that maybe that would have been more interesting. This isn't a movie that you really I don't think this is really a movie you're coming to for the plot. You know what I mean?
No,
But
no.
I think that if maybe they had cleaned it up a little bit and not gone with such a generic sort of through line, that maybe it raises the score substantially. I don't know. I felt the performances were all fine outside of Nicolas Cage. I thought Nicholas Holt's character was, good, relatable.
Sure.
I just kind of wish they would have maybe leaned into that more. The whole I'm in a toxic relationship with my boss sort of thing.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
micromanager. Like make it almost like a workplace comedy. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think that would have been really interesting. And I think that they probably missed an opportunity to do something that could have been really funny and really interesting to this sort of by the numbers crime through line. But like I said, I mean, Nicolas Cage is on the screen. He's stealing the scene. You know what I mean? He just
Yes.
he
Oh,
does
yeah.
what he does. And like I said, I thought that the excessive amounts of gore were hilarious in certain scenes. And I think that sometimes when you use that in a way that to just make it almost like cartoonishly violent, not quite the way that Tarantino does it, but also kind of the way that Tarantino does it. But I thought that, like I said, is this the best movie of the year? No. But I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it. And, that's what I want out of Nicolas Cage movies is just he's Nicolas Cage. He's, like you said, Aquafina's kind of Aquafina and everything. Like, I thought it was a hilarious thing because Nicolas Cage just did his first like cameo in a video game, a horror game called Dead by Daylight. And there was like a write-up for it, and they're like, in the write-up, it's well, Nicolas Cage is in Dead by Daylight and he's playing an exaggerated version of himself. Isn't that just what he is at this point?
Yeah,
He's just an exaggerated version of himself in kind of everything. And so it's like, this isn't Nicolas Cage playing Dracula. This is an exaggerated version of Nicolas Cage playing Dracula. Like just some of the off the wall shit that he said as he's kind of been on this sort of like comeback tour about having consciousness in utero and things like that. Like he's living it up. And I think that you're going to see that from roles from him moving forward here. He's still doing like the wild indie stuff. I mean, he did that Western that I think is like was like straight to Tubi, but yeah, I mean, I had fun, and it's short. It's only probably with credits, it's like an hour and 25 minutes.
Right. It's on, and also if you're interested, the Peacock Network has just like all Nick Cage movies. They have like a whole thing where you just watch. Yeah, you just watch because we watched a couple other Nick Cage movies, so it's just like it's fun. Right. It's wild. Like his movies are crazy. Even like when he was taken differently, his movies were so crazy.
Right.
Like Wild at Heart is a crazy movie.
Oh, Face Off.
So. Yeah, Face Off, crazy movie. And it's so it's just like if you're interested in Nick Cage, which you should be, it's fun to watch. I think it was just for me. I like I said, it was just maybe I just wanted a little bit more Nick Cage. I think I agree with you, Brent, where it's just like they had that plot line, but they could have made it more of like the Office style thing of like him at the office with Dracula.
Yeah, like it's just like a micromanager boss. Like we've all that's the thing. I feel like it makes it more relatable because we've all had that boss, Yeah. But score it.
I mean, I think I think 7.5. I think that's like where I would put it right there. It's good. It's not great.
It's funny because I think that I was higher on it, but I'm going to give it a lower score. I'm just going to give it a straight 7. I think as far as recommendations go, this is like if you are a Nick Cage fan, like we are Nick Cage fans, you owe it to yourself to watch this. If you're not a huge Nick Cage fan and you're not in on it, you're probably not going to like it, honestly.
No, right. You just won't. Yeah.